Hey, hello everybody. I'd like to welcome everybody to a special edition of The Bridge. The fact that you guys are here show that you are conscious people and that you care about what's going on. And if we can get all of our pockets, because we're just a small pocket of people that is conscious and that care. So if we take all these pockets and combine these pockets, we'll have a full suit. But having said that, I'm gonna turn this over to Twyla. Twyla, if you want to start the discussion off and lead us off.
Yes, thank you everyone for being on this evening. And yes, this is a special edition. It's incredible what happened today, the course of events. I have been crying most of this afternoon and sitting and worked out and then cry some more because I'm enraged. I'm furious. I didn't expect this type of an outcome from this grand jury today. Breonna Taylor's life is like so many other lives of Black women in this country. It's like invisible. It's just like the air, invisible. On our guest tonight, we do have, let's see, I'm gonna start from, well, you'll see her on the screen as Love Life, but she is Paula Goddard. She is the CEO of Horizons Youth Foundation. Horizons Youth is an organization that deals with teaching children about personal finance and a whole bunch of other wonderful, great things. She's based between the DMV and New Jersey. We have Shirley Stewart, who's here, who's the CEO of SAS Electrical. We have JERROLD Sanders here, who is the president and CEO of ONUS Incorporated, and you can find her on www.changeisonus.org. We have the proprietor and owner of Freshly Rooted Salon, based out of Norman and Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, J.C. Dobson. We have member of Black is Back Coalition, Larry Wells. I think that's everyone. So let's get started. I'm going to start with Paula.
Lord two.
Please give us a good time. Did I miss anyone?
Is Lord 2 on? Lord
No,
2?
he's not on. No, he's not on. But when he gets on, we'll get him on. We'll get him on in as well.
Shirley?
Paula,
Shirley?
I did. Yeah, Shirley's SAS Electrical. It's on you.
Me?
Give
okay.
us a give us a timeline. Yep.
Okay. I found a great timeline of the events related to the death of Breonna Taylor, and I'm just going to read them straight as they are, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Okay. March 13th of this year, of course. So let me just say, here's a timeline of events that began with the death of Breonna Taylor, a Black woman whose killing by police in her home in Kentucky has encouraged a national reckoning on race. That's what the article begins. March 13th, officers serving a narcotics warrant fatally shoot Breonna Taylor in her home in Louisville, Kentucky. Now that same day, March 13th, just a few hours later, now remember, Breonna Taylor was laying in her bed, I believe next to her boyfriend, laying in her bed. Police announced, just a few hours later, March 13th, police announced the arrest of Kenneth Walker in the wounding of an officer during an exchange of gunfire. Taylor is left unidentified at the news conference, described as, quote unquote, an unresponsive woman who was later pronounced dead. All right. Now it's just saying March, April, the shooting stays out of the headlines as the COVID-19 pandemic spreads in the US. Now, of course, it might have been in their estimation out of the headlines, but it was all in the streets and all on various independent media and so on and so forth. April 27th, Taylor's family files a wrongful death lawsuit against police department and city, challenging the police narrative, which is very important. May 13th, top Louisville, Kentucky prosecutor Tom Wine, W-I-N-E, recuses himself from reviewing police investigation. Attorney General Daniel Cameron is named as the special prosecutor. May 20th, Chelsea Napper, Zayden Flournoy and Cody Etherton sue officers Brett Hankison, Miles Cosgrove, and Jonathan Mattingly, accusing them of disregarding human life by spraying gunfire into Napper's apartment, which was next door to Breonna Taylor's. May 22nd, prosecutors announced they will drop attempted murder charges against Walker, who shot at officers in his girlfriend's home. May 28th, Walker's anguished 911 call is released 3 days after the death of George Floyd at the hands of police in Minnesota, sparking large protest in Louisville. And of course, not just large protest in Louisville, of course, George Floyd was a catalyst for worldwide protest. All right, so that was May 28th, Walker's anguished 911 calls released. May 29th, Mayor Greg Fisher suspends use of no-knock warrants by Louisville police. June 1st, Fisher fires police chief Steve Conrad after officers failed to turn on body cameras in shooting of barbecue cook David McAtee, M-C-A-T-E-E, during protest in Louisville. June 11th, pop star Beyonce writes Attorney General Daniel Cameron urging him to charge police officers. June 23rd, Officer Brett Hankison, one of the 3 officers who fired shots the night of Taylor's death, is fired for quote unquote blindly firing into Taylor's apartment. June 25th, celebrities join hundreds of demonstrators outside state capitol, calling on Cameron to charge officers. June 28th, photographer Tyler Girth is fatally shot at site of ongoing protests in downtown Louisville. July 14th, protesters are arrested for demonstrating on Cameron's front lawn. August 12th, Taylor's mother, Breonna Taylor's mother, Tamika Palmer, meets with Cameron. September 5th, hundreds peacefully protest outside Kentucky Derby, urging Cameron to criminally charge the officers. September 5th, Fisher names Yvette Gentry, the first Black woman to lead Louisville Police Department, as interim chief beginning October 1st. September 9th, Cameron is included on President Donald Trump's short list of Supreme Court candidates. I'm sure we're all connecting the dots right now. September 15th, city announces civil settlement providing Breonna Taylor's family with $12 million and promising police reforms. September 26, Louisville police set up blockades downtown in anticipation of Cameron's announcement. Today, September 23rd, 2020, a Kentucky grand jury indicted Hankison for shooting into neighboring apartments, but did not charge any officers for their role in Taylor's death. So as I heard it on the news, read it, it was considered endangerment to neighbors. Okay, not murder. Okay, nothing. So very interesting, and definitely want to get Gerald Sanders' opinion on this, Twy, as we go on, because of her URLEIA, Uniform Reporting Law Enforcement, Improvement Act, because it was key to me seeing here this settlement here, the $12 million settlement on September 15th, because it says city announces civil settlement providing Taylor's family with $12 million and promising police reforms. Well, what does that look like?
I'm going to answer that real quick in a short part, and then I'll pass it over to Gerald. Reform, that's the word we got to stop using, because if I say police reform, what is reform? Reform means change, but what I consider change, what you consider change, is subjective. So with that, Gerald?
She on mute.
Cheryl, could you unmute your mic so you can respond to Paula? Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, when I tend to look at these encounters, these murders by law enforcement, I tend to have a very analytical view of it because I'm always looking at an opportunity to strengthen your LEA. And as I was looking at the verdict and listening in, I was thinking to myself, now how can law enforcement justify such a decision? And so what was really clear to me is that the bullet that they alleged that killed Breonna came not from Brett Hankison, the one that was deemed to be reckless, but from Miles Cosgrove, which I found that interesting. And the reason I found it interesting is because I think in looking again at your LEA, first of all, number one, we do not have the information that we need to have to make the full conclusions that we demand to be able to arrive at. There's just not enough revelations. I mean, was that true, the ballistics? Was it true? Because if Hankison delivered the bullet that killed Breonna, and if Hankison was sent to their location by a manager or someone in the police department, these officers supposedly had no idea of how this warrant was issued. So they were cast out to do a job, ill-equipped as almost all law enforcement agents are. And if they kicked that door open and they were met with fire, then the law, as poorly written as it is, gives them the right of self-defense. So the person who was acting most reckless on the scene, since he didn't shoot Breonna, then they couldn't hold him responsible for the killing of Breonna. Now, let me tell you what I see here. I see that culpability for Breonna's murder is actually also internal. And I never contemplated this in the writing of your LEA. I never contemplated that the officers or the individuals who recklessly issued the warrant, who did not identify that the person they were pursuing had been arrested, that those individuals, should they be held accountable? I mean, like, if they made a mistake in vehicular homicide, I mean, or reckless endangerment, people are held accountable. So I see like a multitude of failures. I see you have this law enforcement that you've released onto the streets in every city in the United States. It goes in with gun blazings with these no-knock raids who are going into premises where they could actually do stakeouts and wait for people to leave their domains. I mean, you know, my mind is really, really, really reeling today, trying to figure out maybe we need to add a section now into your LEA, where in your LEA, for those who do not know, it's the Uniform Reporting Law Enforcement Improvement Act, which is absolutely comprehensive and absolutely changes policing fundamentally from the ground up. Then maybe now we need to also hold accountable management and the internal officers who are recklessly providing directives to officers on the street, as well as holding these officers responsible for what we have in your LEA, which is called the obligation to preserve life and prevent injury. I mean, who kicks open a door into a dwelling where people are in, they did no surveillance. It was just failures at multiple points. And so in my outrage about this young lady losing her life, she looked like she was just a really wonderful, cool person. And $12 million is, you know, I put a post up on my Facebook page. What does Breonna think about the $12 million settlement that was just awarded to her family? I mean, there is no redressing once you've been killed wrongfully by a law enforcement agent. So again, there are a multitude of things I see here that were failures, a multitude of things that would need to be changed and addressed if we are to make sure this kind of thing never happens again.
It's really critical. We can get in the streets and protest till the cows come home. You can write on Instagram, you can get on Twitter, you can do all that. But at the end of the day, and we know we can't legislate people's hearts, but at the end of the day, there needs to be federal law, okay? This has to end. And so I want to urge people to go to www.changeisonus.org, because there is a petition there that you can sign. We really need people to do that. We need people. I wish the celebrities would push this legislation, because, you know, one of the things, and you know this, Dr. Cawthon, it really upsets me, is reactionary politics, reactionary civil rights, instead of being proactive, okay? So these are things that can be done, getting your LEA passed, so that there is accountability at the highest levels. Instead of these officers being able to go just from, you know, town to town, city to city, they, you know, jump into other law enforcement jobs. And also, you know, we need to hit them in their pockets. We need to deal with these pensions. If these officers knew that their pensions would be affected, if they knew that their livelihood would be affected, their ability to send their children to the best schools, to move out of the city into the suburbs, to buy their boats and their cars and their bigger houses, then they would be left, they would think twice.
Could someone, excuse me, wait a minute. Could someone mute their mic? We hear football.
Sunday at 1 Eastern on Fox and the Fox Sports app.
Someone else hear that too?
Yes.
Okay, I thought it was just me. All right,
Yeah,
thank you.
here as well.
Okay, thank you.
I'm told that now we're at the point of approaching various stakeholders,
See,
ensuring that this
I don't
is
even
the
know
right
how
way
we're-
forward. This is
Where
an
we're getting some
appropriate
other
piece
kind of,
of policy prescriptions.
let's see, maybe I can do that like that. Okay. Shirley,
Power off.
Shirley, you just heard Paula just wax poetic about hitting them in the pocket. The thing that I want to say is that, and then we can expound on this, is that the problem goes to prosecutorial misconduct, the prosecutorial immunity, as you were. As a police officer, you can't sue them for, in that, which is a dumb thing for Americans to allow this to happen. As a former police officer, I thought it was stupid then, think it's stupid now. If you are a doctor, you have malpractice insurance. Why? You have malpractice insurance in case you do something negligent or harmful to a person, correct? And a person can sue you, and then your insurance covers that, and then your insurance inflates, or you might even go out of business. JC Dobson has a salon. If she doesn't have the right type of insurance, and there's a product that's improperly placed on one of her clients, and the client hasn't signed a release, she could be sued, which could actually flatten her out. Shirley has an electrical business. If she miswires someone's house and someone's house catches on fire, if she wasn't bonded, she could be held liable for it if the paperwork's not done proper as far as having liabilities. That's why you have liability agreements. Why is there a liability agreement with police department that allows them to not be liable? Shirley?
So you're asking me, my understanding, I think we went over this conversation before, but as far as liability insurance for the police officers or road cops, personally, there is some insurance. Like you said, we had a conversation with the state. So I know in Virginia, because I had did some research, because my home was raided by the federal marshals because of the state. I'm driving, as I said before, because of the state went and passed on some bogus information about myself to Homeland Security, and they were able to get a bogus no-knock warrant against me on October the 8th, 2013, and they came and raided my house. And of course, I'm still alive. But I mean, from what I'm hearing in the conversation is, you know, the problem is what the ladies were saying on the timeline. One of the issues is, as she said, when they awarded that $12 million, and then from the $12 million now today, I think the indictment was Mr. Brett off. He's off as far as the murdering of Breonna. I mean, I already knew when I heard, I think it was last week with the $12 million, the game was over. I mean, the game was over then. Everybody was, most people anyway, was all cheery and happy about the $12 million. I mean, how does money, you know, take the place of someone killing your child? You know, that's murder. So, Twyla, you know where I stand. I mean, my question to you when you called me tonight is, okay, what are we going to do now? We're talking. So now what? Now, everybody's talking about reform, no, punishment. And that's another thing, the game changer, is that when they agreed to the $12 million and to reform the police officer, I don't know who was sitting at the table, but as we all know, Crump, we know he was there, and those black people, the parents, which they may not understand what they were even agreeing to, except for the $12 million. They probably had no problem with that, okay? So we have a serious problem here. By the way, Breonna is not probably the first woman that has been killed by rage. I'm still alive. There are probably many people out here who have had this type of situation, and it's been swept under the rug. So it just so happened Breonna was killed, but I think it took a few months before we even found out about it.
Exactly.
So this is a serious problem here. And like I said, I don't know, as black people or people in general, okay, what are we going to do? You know where I stand with this.
Sean?
And talking is good. Talking is good. We can strategize and think about it and throw out stuff. But look, this stuff has been going on for a long time. As I stated, 2013, they raided my house with a no-knock warrant. And my case, everything, whatever they were trying to charge me with was bogus. Everything was thrown out. And I could have been killed. We talked about an army came up in my house.
I just
All right,
found
I'm done,
in the Washington Post. It says, since 2015, police have fatally shot nearly 250 women. Like Breonna Taylor, 89 of them were killed at homes or residences where they sometimes stayed.
Correct. Sean?
Well, you know something, I agree with Gerald when Gerald had mentioned that, you know something, first and foremost, we need to start at the top. Because if our leaders are not sanctioning these behaviors, the subordinates wouldn't be doing this. And see, when each of these incidents happen, you know, so that they come together because it looks bad on leadership. So, and secondly, start hurting their pockets, hit them economically. And if you want to see change, like I said, it has to start from the top.
Larry?
I agree wholeheartedly with what Sean said, and more importantly, with what Gerald was talking about. You know, when I got on this call and I talked to you earlier, Twyla, I said to myself, I'm not going to get mad, you know. But then I wind up getting mad because this is not anything that's new. This thing's been going on with us for, since late in the early 70s, since I've been alive myself, probably. I don't know. But what Gerald was saying about, and the way I understand it, you guys correct me if I'm wrong or if I'm misquoting anything, the way those police officers arrived at Breonna's house and the way they were charged, because I was tracking this thing. Those two officers that were not charged, and they fired directly into that house, shooting 10 bullets and 6 of them hitting Breonna. They weren't charged because they were fired back on by the boyfriend. The other guy that was charged, he left as like a rogue policeman. From what I understand, went outside and started shooting through the windows and through her glass patio door, and shot through the neighbor's door. So therefore, in wretched endangerment. So he gets charged. Doesn't make sense to me, you know, that these people can get off like that.
Well, Larry, let me chime in right quick.
Hold on. Dobson, JC?
Yes. So my thing with the whole situation, I mean, when you read off that timeline, Paula, that is absolutely ridiculous. That is absolutely crazy. And how someone else said we didn't even know about Breonna Taylor being murdered until months later. Honestly, I didn't even know about it until George Floyd died and the protests were happening with that. I mean, that's a whole different situation. The fact that Black women are not being seen by anyone really until it happens to a man. That's a whole other patriarchal conversation, but it's a real deal thing. It's a real problem. It's almost as if we are excluded from the injustice by, you know, and it shows it by her situation and it being put on the back burner, is being excluded. Also, with the $12 million that the family had settled for with the city, for one, it's taxed. So, you know, the city's getting a rebate. So there's that. That's absolutely ridiculous. And then I also want to know, when they got the settlement, does that mean that they can no longer, you know, like other settlement cases, you know, they can no longer talk about it anymore, or, you know, like it's done, swept underneath the rug kind of thing? And then someone else had mentioned about how it has to be everyone that has to be held accountable. The people that you know, issue the order to give the warrant to even go to the house, to go in and, you know, murder anybody that they saw fit. I think everyone should be held accountable. You had who it was that you were actually looking for. Someone didn't relay the message, so oops, you're bad, your mistake, now you have to pay. And it is something that they definitely need to fix. Like someone was saying, it trickles on down. I think also it trickles up too, in the way that once you're in there, you're going off of, I guess, adrenaline or whatever is going on in there, or whatever the person next to you is saying or happening or doing. You know, it's just like, from what I hear, being in the military, you know, they don't even like their brass, because the brass doesn't get down with everyone else. You know what I mean? They're not doing the dirty stuff. They're not getting their hands dirty. They're done with that now. So they, you know, it's kind of like, well, they're not here, I'm gonna, you know, protect my brothers standing to my left and my right type of vibe. And so even then, that's why I say it trickles up, because they have to be trusted to do what it is it's supposed to do. And then any decent human being, if you find out that you did something wrong, like, I don't know, killing someone, they should want to pay for that. It's interesting to me. It's like they're just wanting to just kind of like, oh, well, collateral damage, of course, she was in the house, she was raided. So naturally sorry, here's $12 million. It's just, it's really interesting how all of this is folding out. And then the attorney general, I honestly don't think that it's gonna.
Go ahead. Sure. Sure.
Yes. Okay. This is Shirley Stewart. When I went to my hearing, this is when after the Roe and the federal, we call them the Homeland gang, after they raided my house. So we were in court. I had a what do you call them, a public defender, which I must say she was okay, but she asked the lead Homeland Security agent, how did you get the information, the warrant? Well, first of all, we know the judge has to sign off on the warrant. That's another problem. So he stood up. By the way, I got all this video. I mean, not video, I'm sorry. Video and recorded in court. So she said, well, I forgot his name, officer, whatever his name was. How did you get the information? Something like that. He said, he went off a hearsay. Hearsay. So if everybody know what hearsay means and understand what it means, that should let you know what's really going on out here. So this was Fairfax County, which is the state, okay, contacted Homeland Security, and Homeland Security, which is federal, took the lead off a hearsay to come to my home and raid my home. So he knew he had stepped in some, at that point. But my point is that there is a serious problem. And by the way, we must understand, all of these people are in a family. I mean, I got a story that a white guy was telling me today and yesterday. Privileged white people. I mean, he was telling me, and I think he got all kind of felonies. And he was saying, yeah, I got a good lawyer. He's talking about, well, I'm sure he's white. I got me a good lawyer. And he was saying, yeah, the lawyer is more powerful than the judge. But I don't want to jump on. But let me just go back to it. Another thing, after they dismissed my case, which was less than 30 days, because they had nothing to go on. I don't know what they were trying to, I would have been indicted. So I asked the lawyer, the public defender, I said, well, ma'am, could you tell me I didn't say hell, but what was this all about? And this is what she told me. I can't tell you.
But she was your,
y'all didn't raid my goddamn house.
Shirley, hold on.
Yeah.
That was what your attorney told you.
The public defender.
Yeah, that's
she wasn't. She was the public defender. Correct.
Okay.
Yep. That's what she told me.
May I? I'd like to make a point, if I could.
Sure.
Now, I suspect that if Brett Hankison's bullet had hit Breonna, pursuant to the ballistics report, he would have then been culpable for her death. Okay, because he was acting recklessly. The other two were supposedly acting in self-defense. So by ensuring that one of the ones that were acting, quote, in self-defense were the ones who delivered the deadly shot to Breonna, you could classify her death as the results of defensive actions. Now, with your Leah, we require that the police report defining what happened, it has to be logged within hours. What we're responding to here is what we end up responding to in every police killing of a civilian, basically, which is The law enforcement continuum, medical examiner, rank and file, the officers, the prosecutors, they are given time to craft their stories. The ballistics mean everything in this case, okay? It means everything. So what we have is not only a failure in the rank and file, a failure of law enforcement on the streets, but once again, that failure is aided by the fact that this law enforcement continuum had all this information long withheld from the public. And what could they do? They did what they always do, which is they write the story. I don't know how many of you heard of India Kager. I actually accompanied her mother to Virginia. India was, I think she was, if I recall, about 26
years old.
26, right. Her mother's Gina. And I mean, this young lady had never had a parking ticket. She was in the car with a boyfriend and her newborn baby. I think he was what, three months old or 6 months?
3 months old, about
3 months old. And law enforcement rolls up. They said her boyfriend, who was in a car, was going to commit a murder, they thought, or later that evening. So they rolled up on the car and they unleashed 32 rounds. I know 32 rounds hit her with the baby in the back seat of the car. They killed India and Angelo Perry. And I can't tell you of how many people, I know of white people this has happened to. See, this is definitely Blacks are killed disproportionately, but in a system failure, everyone is going to be affected and everyone is. So we need to understand here that we're making conclusions because they drove us to conclusions. But the conclusions that we have today, they may not really portray the facts in the story at all. You know, everybody's bullets very well may have hit Breonna, but guess what? They couldn't have Hankerson's bullet hit Breonna. Did I get the, because if his bullet had hit Breonna, then they would have had to charge him with a very, very serious crime.
Well, you know what, Gerald, I'm going to say this. I am a former police officer. I also worked undercover, and I know for a fact how warrants supposed to be issued. And I know what a no-knock warrant looks like because I was part of a no-knock warrant raid a couple of times. But let me say this about a warrant. First of all, in order to get a warrant, you got to find a judge that signs it, and the judge has to see all this evidence. In order to get this particular warrant served, we had to watch this home for months. We watched this house for months. We ended up getting inside the house. And in order to get the warrant served, you had to know how the house was laid out on the inside. You had to know how many doors were coming out outside the rear. I had to know how the pattern of the upstairs floors looked like, even though I might not have ever gone upstairs, how the likelihood of what room was above which, like, is there a bedroom up over this room or is this a bathroom? You have to know where the address is listed on the house, whether it's on the side post, the head post. You have to know whether the driveway is to the left or to the right. You have to know how the door opens and closes, whether it pulls out or hinges in. You have to know all these things first. And you have to show beyond a shadow of a doubt that there is good, substantial, credible intel. And that's the only way that we were able to get that warrant. And the only reason why I felt comfortable with that warrant that was served, is one particular I'm talking about, is because I was the one that went inside the house. And I was the one that saw the activity, and I saw what I needed to see. We knew that the guy had the dope. We knew that the weapons were there. We knew that dope was coming in, period. We sat back and waited, I went inside, went back. My daughter can tell you that I worked relentlessly on these assignments. And I was the only person that was going in for a while by myself and a wire, which a lot of times means nothing because it came too close for me and you don't have a weapon, okay? So then when you get this warrant, the warrant's supposed to be issued, and then after the warrant is issued, you serve it, that's it. But all that intel, so you already have enough to actually convict, or at least bring it to before a court. levy charges. But before we even write up charges against any person, we always, as a police officer, you have, in Ohio, we have the ORC, the Ohio Revised Code. And we look through the Ohio Revised Code first and see, is this? And if it's all of these things, that I can charge this person with this. If one of those things don't match, I can't charge them with that. I have to move to the next charge. And then before the charges are even imposed, I call the prosecutor, because there's always a prosecutor on call. And then we discuss, this is the police officer now, discuss with the prosecutor, what's a good charge to levy against an individual, okay? And then the charge is levied, the warrant is issued, and then the person is booked and all that those things. My problem with this case is several things. They have been watching her former boyfriend, Mr. Glover, for months on end. They had super credible intel that he didn't live there, he never lived there. They didn't get anything from the post office that said they didn't peculiar packages. They didn't have any traffic. There are surveillance cameras at the intersection before you get to her home, okay? So, and the apartments are close, so the neighbors could have, when people have a lot of traffic in their homes, neighbors usually the first ones to complain. They'll drop it down, they'll drop a quarter on you. The neighbors, what they do is they start writing down license plate numbers and turning them into us, so we'll have that information. None of this was done. So then they turn around when they did the warrant and issued it, you go in here and you fire all these shots. I'm telling you for a fact, I'm telling America, I'm telling you, half of these people who have these badges can't shoot. That's why they got to get up on you to shoot you. They don't shoot. I can shoot. I'll let it be known. And I don't miss because I hit. I'm a Marine. I'm telling you right now. So if I pull that trigger, I know where the round is going to go before it strikes what it is, because that's how well trained we are. So as police officers, that's not the case. You go to the range, all you got to do is hit the target. They don't mark the value to say, okay, if you hit the target and you hit within the anywhere black, that's considered a good shot. I don't want anybody that's got to shoot 5 or 6, 7, 8, 9 rounds. You don't need to unload a weapon on me for me to be able to hit. I know we've trained shoot to kill, but I'm telling you, I can get one shot, one kill. Why are police officers not held to that standard if you're carrying that weapon? Because we are taught, if you draw the weapon, you're pulling your weapon with the intention to shoot to kill, not shoot to scare, not warn, not maim. So when they go inside this house and they do all this firing, first of all, there should have been charges against them about the fact that the records fired. Now, her boyfriend, he did fire because he called 911 himself first. There's a tape. He called. He said, I think someone's breaking in on us. Yeah. The dispatcher says something else, and then the next thing you know, you hear the burst, and he fires one round. You cannot tell me when you only hear one shot that you all have to unload and fire. There's no, I don't care about adrenaline rush, nothing. Unless you've been in a war, I don't want to hear about, and you aren't used to shooting out. If that's the way you are, if your trigger finger is that light, you need to get a different job. Then they lied on the initial report. There was a 4-page incident report. Incident reports are done anytime anything happens. If I go and someone says someone's dog broke a fence in my yard, I do an incident report. An incident report only chronicles an event. That's all it does. Because of weapons were fired, you would have to do an SFI and ROI, which means it's supplemental reports. So the incident report, which was dated on the 13th of March, it had the time of the day, the incident and location, had her name, and it said she was a 26-year-old Black female. It said her injuries were listed as none. I got a problem with that. Her injuries were listed as none. Listed as none.
Not only that,
hold on. And
okay.
then when it says forced entry on the box of the incident report, it's checked no. Come on now.
Okay.
Come on. You did force entry, and then, but hold on, but you lied on that report and said no. So who's responsible for giving a false report? If I call and say, my house is on fire, my house is not on fire, I've given a false report. Even if I know my house is on fire, I've given a false report.
And there's a penalty for that. And there's a penalty.
That's right. So who's responsible for making that false report? That false report saying that no injuries and the woman was dead? Come on, somebody's responsible for that. And do you know why? Tom, you know why Tom Wine recused himself from this case? he recused himself from his case because he was investigator. He was already pressing charges against her boyfriend. So they're the ones who asked for the special prosecution. And this is how the state attorney general got involved in it. But my other issue with it too is that the criminal interdiction unit, which is what these cops were on, they don't wear cameras. So my question is, why did the taxpayers pay for all of this equipment for you to have? Why were all these cameras issued to these departments, and then you're not going to have the cameras on? It's the same thing with Yaya's death, which is our family suing Louisville now. You shot him down there at his place, and he thought someone had shot his niece when she came staggering through the door, and no one was even rioting down there at his end because he was down 20-something blocks away from where the rioters were.
Hey, Twyla.
Shirley. Yep.
Hey, Twyla.
Yes.
Let me just jump in real quick because
Sure.
you touched on something. And actually, it's two things I want to mention. The police, when they arrived, they say they called out the police, but someone that just drove up in a truck driver, I believe, in the parking lot, was the only person that heard them say police. So understand that when you come with a no-knock warrant, you're supposed to yell it. So if you can wake up the entire neighborhood, you're supposed to yell it that loud. They didn't do that, but they got off on that. And the other thing about that attorney, I forget his name, the attorney general, he said that this case wasn't tried or wasn't decided, or the loss of Miss Taylor's death was a tragedy. That was a murder.
Daniel Cameron.
Yeah, they murdered that lady.
When you have that many shots fired inside of a place and see, but here's the other thing too that I think that we all should agree on or can agree on is this. My question is, what were you trying to charge him with? And when we said this Sunday, you charge what you believe that you can get the conviction off of. I still want to know why they didn't charge felony assault in Kentucky, because they could have charged everyone with this. And I'll tell you what this means. An assault occurs in Kentucky when a person physically injures, or in some cases, simply attempts to injure another person without legal justification. Without legal justification. There's no justification for firing that many rounds or firing after a person shoots one round. But if they would have charged them with felony assault, then he could have got convicted, because they could have pushed up to first degree, and first degree is a Class B felony, and he could have got at least 10 to 20 years for assaulting. And even like the law, it says, even if you don't injure, says simply attempts to injure. That's the key. Physically injuring or simply attempts to injure another person. And this is what they did. So even if his rounds didn't hit her, he was intending to injure, period. Brett Hankerson should never still be on a police department, because a year ago, he was charged, well, he was reprimanded for discipline for over reckless conduct a year ago. And he also was accused of a sexual assault on the job. So why would you have him on this duty?
That's why we need your Leah. Because with your Leah, we're talking about a database. And I'd like Gerald Saunders to talk about that for people who don't understand, because these people are jumping, even if they get off the force, okay? Death due, they get off the force, they get away with it. They jump from town to town, county to county, city to city.
You know why, Paula? You know why, Paula? Because if I'm allowed to resign from a position, that means that I can go someplace else, and since all police officers are trained the same way, all I need is about a couple weeks on training at your department, and I can be hired on. That's the problem. Without having prosecutorial culpability, prosecutorial immunity, there's my word. Police officers don't have the, I'm gonna say, the gall or the restraint. There's no restraint. So I can go ahead, because I know that in the end of the day, that if it's written up right, if the right charge is assigned, because I know it's not gonna be conviction, I can go ahead and still have a job. There's no reason why police officers should have, we didn't have cameras when I was on. We didn't have cameras, and we didn't even have the little mic and walkie-talkies. We had to carry the radio in our hands, and we only had one radio in a car. So when my partners and I, whichever ones I worked on that day, if we had to do a foot chase, guess who had the radio? It wasn't me. It was the most senior person in the car. And since I was fast, I had to yell out my location by looking at the addresses and calling out the direction on the streets that I was in to let my partner hopefully hear where I was going so we can corner off this person. JC.
I think
And
that,
I don't want to get back to Noble. Don't forget about that.
Okay, no, hold on. Let me get JC. Go ahead.
I think one of the things, you know, as far as the Yurlia, the reason why I think a lot of these rogue cops, you know, or just flat out killers, let's just call them what they are. I think that they're able to bounce around in these different departments, you know, over in Mayberry or wherever they go. They'll allow it because it's cheaper to keep her. You know what I mean?
And it suits their agenda too. If they're racist, I mean.
Yeah, and it just adds. I don't have to try to indoctrinate you with what it is that I feel, you know, is the way to go, because I already saw your record. So you know what? You're one of us. So come on over here. It's cheap because, like you said, you got the fast track, the Cliff's Notes version of Police Academy. You don't have to go through however long because you already been through something. So you've already been through your academy there. We can go ahead and just get you transferred over, get you in real quick. And here's a badge and a gun, and there's your privilege. So, I mean, it's just so much cheaper, and it works out for literally for everyone. Now I know some of these people, they can't transfer their pensions and things like that and whatever, but sometimes they don't even care. And that's the thing. It's like, that's another thing about like actually hitting people, the idea of hitting people in their pockets. I mean, I get it. And it is definitely a strategy. The whole thing is that the people that are funneling the money to these people, these lower level murderers, these people that are funneling the money, they're always going to have money. They're old money. So it's like, can you really hit old money in the pockets? Really? That's why we call them old money. So can you really do that? And then there's people, a killer is a killer is a killer. They don't care. So they're like, okay, I mean, whatever, you can have my pension. I got the good old boy system that's always going to take care of me. I have something to do, somewhere to go. I have another avenue to get what it is that I want to get done. So there's always, you know, there's always somewhere for them to go.
You know, so on the money tip, even people with money don't like to lose money because that thing called greed. They want more money and they really hate losing money. So again, to the point that they will change their own attitudes and or policy if they're losing money, even like if their pockets are deep. And just to quote something to Larry, as you mentioned, you know, they had one witness, the one witness heard the warning. 12 other witnesses said they didn't hear anything.
I don't believe that witness. I don't believe that witness for half a second, because my question is this: when you serve a no-knock warrant, you don't announce. That's the whole point.
Well, they said it was that clause wasn't in this particular telling of this warrant.
When you serve a no-knock warrant, the idea is the element of surprise.
Exactly, so but this wasn't a no-knock.
What you do is when you let me say, you go inside. Hold on, I'm gonna let Larry and I'm gonna let you. You go inside. When we go inside that place, and we're storming a place, all we say is get down, get down, get down, get down. Put your hands up, put your hands up, put your hands up. That's what we say when we come inside. We don't even say police.
No knock.
On a no knock warrant. You enter inside and you tell people, move your, sit down, put your hands, get your hands, get your hands, get down on the ground, get down on the ground, get down, get down, get down. And then you clear the areas. You mob. So while you're there with maybe a assailant or maybe someone in the front room, then a couple people go back and they check the next room, and they check the next room. You got a whole group that starts morphing on to the upstairs, because you want to make sure if there's any evidence that they're not destroying the evidence while you're down there. So you're clearing and checking the rooms, and you're rounding bodies up, you're putting them all in the same area. So that's why you have to be very specific about how everything is laid out so you can have the right amount of manpower. In our hometown, a lot of the houses have second second floors with attics, and then you have basements. So you have, you have to have enough people on there. Leary?
No, I agree with you totally. Because when they raised that question, or they brought that to the attention as a part of them coming to Breonna's house, I'm thinking to myself, well, how can the neighbors not hear one peep out of these guys, and yet a guy driving up in a truck can hear them? It's bull. Now, to JC's point, what wasn't one? You guys help me out. Wasn't that guy, that one cop that's charged? He was working for another police department, and he had a letter written on him. He was dismissed from his job because of his attitude and the way he was. And then at the same time, when he went to Louisville Police Department, he was up on complaints about sexual harassment and other things that he was charged with. Did I hear that? So you see,
yes, it was accusations. He was accused of sexual assault on the job, but last year he was disciplined over other reckless conduct. So this was not anything new. So why is he even on this detail if he is reckless already? I think Shirley.
He's on. If I can join in.
Gerald. Okay, that's
yes. If I can join in, the reason he's there is because of the policing culture. They protect their own. They make sure their own gets another job once they execute or kill or rape or maim. The culture is there to preserve itself. And the FOP and the unions are the prime managers of the culture. They help in influence training. Twyla, you said something, shoot to kill. Well, that is exactly what they teach. Your LEA has an obligation to preserve life and prevent injury, because when you think about that, fundamentally, it is not an officer's job to be judge and jury. It's to apprehend, haul in front of a judge so a person can exercise due process of law. So we have a policing culture that has reshaped our idea of policing into the FOPs and the unions idea of policing. And with respect to your LEA, analysis is important. Analysis is hugely important to understand a problem and then to draft a remedy. So whenever I see, again, these occurrences, I'm always looking and applying your LEA to them to say, would your LEA have prevented this? How would your LEA have worked to change the outcomes in this circumstance? Now, one thing that would have happened here, amongst several, but I'll really point this one out, is that your LEA has a data bank. It is predicated on a data bank it's called the Pattern or Practice Data Bank, because as you know, pattern or practice investigations occur once law enforcement agencies or agents are considered to be acting persistently in an unconstitutional manner. So we have this pattern of practice with a pattern of practice investigation, as you all know. There's all of this research that happens. DOJ descends, they talk to everyone in the community, they look at the police files, all of that. Your LEA captures this data on a minute-by-minute basis. Basically, law enforcement agents would have smartphones or smart devices where if they stop anything they do, it is going to be captured by that phone, and it's going to be routed directly into a data bank. Okay, like this police shooting, like these shootings, within hours. Guess what? Not everybody on the scene, not just the involved officers, but everybody on the scene, all of that goes into the POP data bank. All the witness testimony, you don't get to collect the witness testimony over here at House 2, hold on to it so you can reconcile it to House 3 over here. It immediately goes into the data bank. If you don't do that, you get fired. It is considered a violation of law. So what you have is you have all this data so you can see if officers are problematic. Now, if you've got a problematic officer like Hankerson, guess what? You have an unfit indicator in the POP data bank. After he is fired, or if there's an adverse action taken against him, he can no longer work in law enforcement ever again, because you have to activate a record for him in the POP data bank, and that record follows him no matter where he goes, and it's based on his social security number. And once that record is locked, he can't work not as a private duty security officer, not at the federal level, not in the juvenile home, and nowhere can this person work in law enforcement again. Now, let me just conclude with this. Your Leah is on the edge. I am really a businesswoman, right? So what I do in corporate is when I have a problem and people say, you know, you hear people all the time, they say that problem can't be solved. Well, I want to understand the problem. And so I do my research with the people, because really people usually tell you what the problems are. You do your research and then you design the solution to fit the problem. You don't worry about whether or not it can be accomplished or not. The first thing you need to know is, what is the solution? The biggest problem we're having with your Leah is that people want to tell us, oh, that can't be done, that can't be done, that can't be done. My question, you know, I wrote a case. It's the only case in history that could have actually removed Donald Trump from office in 2016. It was called the case of first impression. And Harvard lawyers told me, a non-attorney, that it couldn't be done. Well, guess what? I said it can be done. We just have to find out how to do it. Your Leah is the same thing. It is the answer. Noble Perry Tarrant, who was the head of this policing organization, said it's the answer. I've had police officers contact me and tell me it's the answer. But here's the deal. You have people who tell you it can't be done. My question to everyone is, tell me anything you see that is legally, constitutionally, however problematic, because whatever it is a solution. So then we need to remedy whatever you identify so that the solution is in play. Now, I've also had constitutional lawyers tell me this is really outside the norm, but guess what? It is constitutionally sound. So I'm just saying to you this, that we, you know, people are out in the streets, they're protesting, and that has weight. It has pushed the needle. But to stop this, we need policy, and we're going to need to follow this policy all the way through. And one final comment. Your Leah has a national component, which means it would supersede all of these state FOP and unions that now influence policing and make it bad. And finally, there's nothing, you know, I've been looking at qualified immunity and how it links to sovereign immunity and all of that. And it is a very, very complicated law, and it would take some time to explain. But in the end, the FBI came out with a report years ago that said the KKK is infiltrating law enforcement, right?
Yes.
The best way to deal with people, to destroy them financially, is to incarcerate them when they take a life. You incarcerate a police officer when he does a deadly deed, he's probably going to lose his wife, his house is going, many people can't continue to, you know, finance a lifestyle that was being financed by two people. You know, you devastate people when you throw them in jail. That's why so many Black men are incarcerated. So I say accountability has to translate into real serious jail time.
Hey, Joe.
And this is not just a racial issue.
Can I chime in, Twyla, because I got to go. Can I just chime in?
Go ahead.
Because I need to go. I'm kind of moving.
Shirley?
Okay. Yeah.
Shirley?
Shirley. Yeah, thank you.
I'm gonna come to you.
Can you hear me?
You hold on, you and then Larry. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay.
It's on you.
Well, I have to take notes after all the conversations. I have to write down stuff. So I'm gonna go back to my notes here. One thing I want to say is that as far as the process with the no-knock warrant, in my case, and I have to keep referring to my case because I went through the process, the whole process from the state all the way up to the federal to the Supreme Court. So I pretty much know, I feel that I can speak on it. Okay. So one thing with the no-knock warrant, when they came to my house, they said they had a no-knock warrant, but they also said that they rung my doorbell or knocked on my door, which if they had a no-knock warrant, why did they even do that? So they lied. And all this is documented in the court records. They also stated, too, because I'm a master electrician, they said I booby-trapped my house, and that was the reason why they rammed through my door. So all this is documented. So the lies is just going all over the place in this system we're dealing with. So, and another thing I want to mention back to Breonna, my understanding that she was still alive when they came, after they had shot her several times. I don't know if you all knew that. She didn't just die instantly. And no one came, the paramedic didn't come to, take care of her, whatever. So that's another issue. I don't know how that played out in court or on trial. With the police officers,
she's an EMT.
or whatever they had, okay. But the other thing is that the police officers, particularly the county and the state, they have general procedures that they have to follow. And in my case, they broke all the procedures, but still nothing came out of my case. Okay, because in my case, what they did is that instead of probably bringing charges or trying to settle, they just kind of tried to slip it under the rug and just thought it was going to go away. So my whole thing is that, and I'm going to keep going back to it because I've been through this process, I've been through this system. What they do is they want to cover it up. Oh, and the good thing is that I'm still alive to tell my story. Another thing is that when they came and bombed my house, by the way, I don't know if you know, but I can tell they actually threw grenades in my house and blew open my patio doors along with busting through the front door. They had drones and everything. And I live in I would say a white neighborhood. So I heard somebody on this call say something about the neighbors should know. Some of the neighbors probably know, depending on who they are, okay? Because there's no way you're going to come into somebody's neighborhood. It's almost like a little private community, and somebody don't know what's going on. But the good thing about my story is that we have a newsletter, and there's a lot of people wrote an article on what happened. That was more evidence for me. So that was a plus. So I'm just saying, if you haven't been through the process and kind of know from what I experienced, then I'm saying this to say the system is very corrupt, very corrupt. So another thing I want to end with is that we are been doing demonstration. When I say we, there's an organization, attorney Shabazz, Malik Shabazz, and we have been doing demonstrations in Fairfax County at the police headquarters for police brutality, and we are we are going to be going in and doing investigations on all these roads and police that's been the people that's been victims of police brutality. So we are doing something because my thing is that unfortunately it got to the point where now Breonna is gone, but I'm still here, and there's probably many other people like me that's still around, but could never get any help at the time. But I'm the type of person that I'm for making stuff happen. So that's why I was telling Twyla, I don't like doing a lot of talking. It's either going to be action. And another thing, I'm not getting out in the streets and be doing a whole bunch of marching. We going to have to do something else on that one. And Aaliyah, I'm not sure about the Aaliyah, but I guess I'll look into that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Larry?
Larry.
I just have a quick, actually a comment for Gerald on Ulir. Hey, Gerald, I haven't had a chance to talk with you since last year, I think, when we were at the Harvest Day Festival, and you spoke then. Yeah. When Julio Castro was running for president and he was debating, he mentioned a police database. And it sounded somewhat like Ulir. Are you familiar about that, or what he was trying to propose?
I actually am not.
Yeah, he mentioned that in his debate, and then he also mentioned that
when was
if
this?
Julio Castro,
When was it though?
That's when they were doing the presidential debate. When they were running for the president and they were doing the
Last
debate.
summer. Last
Yeah, it was
summer.
last summer. Yeah.
Oh, last summer. Oh, okay. Well, the Congress has had your Leah since 2014 or 15.
Yeah.
15. So
Right.
it wouldn't surprise me at all because they've had it. In fact, the Justice and Policing Act, which is the George Floyd Act, is primarily I always say it's your Leah. It's your Leah with it's the shiny parts of your Leah, but not with the parts of your Leah that would protect lives.
Okay. Yeah.
I've heard multitude of things that were only in your Leah that have shown up in other legislative proposals.
And just so you know, I sent Congressman Steny Hoyer, because I'm in Maryland, the link to ULIRA. If his pit bulls didn't stop it, but I did send it in there, so he may not even seen it because, you know, his pit bulls is in front of him. But they asked for my opinion, and I sent it to them on policing in Maryland.
Well, great. That's what we have to do. The more people, what we have to do is get people focused on a solution. You know, I've done my share of protesting following the Michael Brown's killing, and we were in the ground. I was on the ground for a year. I wanted to see everything unfold. I was researching basically as well. And if we don't march and move with a very specific goal, I don't mean a generalized goal. I mean really pursuing what you want, knowing what you want. If we do that, and I say your Leah, there's no question in my mind that your Leah is the answer. I think your Leah coupled with some other things will fundamentally change the whole tenor of policing in this nation. And that's what we have to do. We have to change it. We don't have to change it. I say we have to tear it down and rebuild it from the ground up.
And the defund police, I think people really misunderstand that. The defund police is not the abolishment of police. I come from a law enforcement family, very proud of that. Detectives, police officers, et cetera, et cetera. But it is the demilitarization of the police. People are tired of it. It is extremely dangerous. I found it interesting. And for those of you who don't know what Noble is, and this is not, again, this is not just about race. This is about police aggression and abuse of power and so on and so forth, and brutality. But the president is a woman. So Noble is a national organization of Black law enforcement executives. And if anybody's, the website is www.noblenational.org. But the president, Linda R, is a woman, Linda R. Williams. I found it interesting, her background. Okay, she has a background with the Secret Service. And it says also that her role within the Department of Criminal Justice Administration, Ms. Williams' curriculum subject matters includes foreign domestic terrorism studies, criminal justice processes, community and public service engagement. So one of the many issues we talk about is the militarization of our police and also their inability and the lack of training to deal in situations with people who have mental illness. All day, I've been thinking about this woman named Miriam Carey. Do you all remember that? From 2013, October 2013, they shot her near the U.S. Capitol.
Capitol, yeah.
With a baby in the car.
In a car.
Yeah.
Now, you've had people jump over the wall of the White House. Am I correct?
And they lived.
And they lived. They lived. It is different when you're dealing with Black people, but it's not always. I mean, you have young Black, white people who have been maimed. They've been injured for life. They've been on life support. because they, you know, they've been tased by police and beaten by police and murdered by police. So it's not just racial, but there is something different because there is a perception when it comes to people of color. There's a perception when it comes to women. There's a socioeconomic perception. I cannot remember what town or city it was where they had to stop the police force from putting the pictures of Black males on the target practices. They had to stop that.
Yeah.
So it has to be a retraining. But for those who maybe came into this Connecting the Bridge show late, can we give some of the websites again, Twy? Is that okay?
Yes, please.
So your Leah, and please on your social media accounts, please push your Leah. Your Leah is the Uniform Reporting Law Enforcement Improvement Act. URLEIA. It is legislation. And please do hashtag your Leah everywhere you can. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Please have people go sign the petition. Ms. Gerald Sanders is the president and CEO of ONUS Incorporated, ONUS. The website where you can find information very quickly about your Leah is www.changeisonus.org. Changeisonus.org. This is critical. I know a lot. Listen, time out for people saying, well, I'm not political. Baby. You born in this country, you're political. Time out for that. Get political. Understand we need this legislation. I don't care how much you go into. I'm boots on the ground in the street. You know that's why. I don't have any problem hitting the streets. I love it. I love the action of it. I mean, however, you have to have a multi-pronged approach to dealing with this. You can never legislate people's hearts, but you have to have legislation to hold people accountable.
Hey, Paul, I'm gonna call you another Fannie Lou Hamer.
Oh, well, please, I'm not worthy to tie her shoelaces, but thank you.
Twyla, can I just chime in again? Twyla, can I chime in? Sure.
Sure, and then
Okay,
I'm with Sean. Hold on, Shirley.
Okay, no problem, no problem.
I'm gonna let Sean. Let me get Sean first, and then come on, Sean.
Okay.
Well, something, this is good. I like that. That's something, that's one of the tools that we could use. And we need to push that to change this narrative, also to make them accountable. These are marching, you know something, I understand marching, but you know something, we need to bring about different methods. Marching worked back in the 60s. We can't keep doing the same thing and expect change. So we have to incorporate new ideas, such as Paul and Gerald were saying, and we have to bring this to our narrative to bring about this change, because other than that, it's going to continue on. This has been going on for ever, man. I mean, you know something, even with cameras, and I'm going back to Rodney King, those were acquitted and they all were guilty. Here we are again, 10 years later, you know, so we have to ask ourselves, for us. And we need to start doing some things, some preventatives and some policy changes. The system is not broken. That system is by design. So yes, we need to totally discombobulate this system and rebuild again, so that we can have inclusion, so we can have a say-so into what's going on. That's my comment, that's my spiel.
Well, you know, I want to say this real quickly, and I want to let Shirley jump in. I want Shirley and everyone to respond to this. You know, they had the National Defense Authorization Act that was in 1990, 1991. And that's what enabled military surplus to be given to these police departments. And Clinton expanded it. It was expanded under Clinton. It was brought down a little bit under Obama. And then Trump just opened it back up and gave $4.7 million worth of gear to these police departments. So these police departments are militarized now. Speak to that, Shirley.
Well, I just want to chime in and what Sean was saying. That's where I was kind of going with this. I mean, we need to come off of this thinking of what's happening now, present, but it's okay. It's okay. But this has been going on, you know, the 60s. I mean, if you remember the 60s, I like to always say black people or people tend to have a mind lapse every now and then. I mean, the police were attacking people back in the 60s with dogs. I'm talking about black people. And another thing, these police officers, they are really protecting white supremacists. And so, and let's just face it, the truth of the matter is the history of these police officers that's been attacking black people today and black people then. We're talking about the same thing: killing, hanging, raping, you name it. It's worse. It's been worse. Okay. So what I don't understand, here it is 2020, and we still talking about something that, as far as I'm concerned, as long as you got white supremacists running the show, controlling it, it's nothing going to change. After this, what y'all just heard today, the verdict of those officers getting off, I mean, I guarantee you, the next couple of days, they're going to forget about that. Everything is going to be like it never even happened. Maybe they're going to do some marching and tearing up or whatever they're going to do. I'm not going to be out there doing that. I guarantee you that. But my point is that people are just running their mouths, creating these organizations, and this is not to offend anybody. But I'm just speaking the way it is. I see it. Running their mouths, there are things getting done, but things ain't really getting done. Because if you think about it, from all these men and black women that's been killed in the last 10 years, and here it is now, someone's been killed, a road cop coming in somebody's house shooting and just shooting at people, other places as well. I mean, it's something missing here. And I'm gonna tell you what I think's missing.
What's next?
Wait, Sean. Hold on, Sean. Wait. It's something missing, because that's why I'm really to the point now that it's even my situation. I'm to the point. All we do is run our mouths. We're not, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because we don't really know what to do, and a lot of people are so angry. Okay, it's okay to be angry. They're so angry, but they can't act on it because they're afraid. They're afraid. I mean, we can talk and go on, but that, even if you go up to legislatures, they still going to have to prove it as white supremacists. Everything that's going on in this country is all done under the white supremacist shadow. So until you can dismantle that, as far as I'm concerned, we could be talking, we'd be talking another 20 years. That's the way I see it.
Well,
I don't care how many organizations you put together. Wait, Sean. I don't know how many organizations that come together. I don't have a problem talking. It's good to talk and communicate.
We're way past talking right now.
Yeah.
We're way past talking right now. It's time to start acting. Just like JERROLD's website, I think it is, it's up to us. We have to do it. We have to get out there and do it. We can't sit back and wait for legislation or for them to do it, because obviously they're not going to do it. We've been going through this mess for forever. And so, like I said, marching, okay, that worked back in the 60s. Okay, marching has, but we have to march with a purpose. We have to march with a solution.
And don't forget the dogs was attacking, the police was there attacking us, our ancestors.
Exactly.
Come on.
So what is next? What will it take us to finally wake up and to start to do something? Instead of, like you
That's
said,
my
Shirley, sitting back running at the mouth, letting
That's all they're doing, running their
Sambo
mouth.
set our narratives for us. What are we going to do? When are we going to get up off our butts and start doing something? This is sickening.
That's
I
what I'm
have
saying.
children out there. I have grandchildren out there, and I'd be damned if they come up on me or do something to any one of them. And I'm going to sit by. I'm not sitting by now. You know, we missed our opportunity as we were coming up. Twiley and myself, waiting for our elders to pass the torch, and they sat on it. You know, so this is my time to do something now. Ain't this is time for you to do something now? Because you know something, it's affecting your future. It's affecting our kids' future. We have no future without them. They even killing kids.
Wait a minute. And our kids looking at us, the generation
Exactly.
now, because
And they see us doing
they
nothing.
see, wait a minute, hold on, Sean, and they see weakness. This is weakness. I don't care what you say, what you think. I'm gonna say it like it is. It's weakness, and you can't blame your kids because you're looking at your parents and they weak.
Right.
They weak.
Hold on.
I went to Michael Brown. When Michael Brown then had the protest here in D.C.
Hold on. Time. Let's get JC in here because JC would be that generation behind us. As a person whose parents were baby boomers, what do you see as the mode operation that needs to be done for the steps for the future? Because obviously what happened in the past was for the past, and what's going on now still hasn't gotten us any further in so many ways. What do you see from your eyes as a young, what do you call yourself, millennial? You're a millennial?
I'm on the border of millennial and Gen Z. So
yeah, okay. I knew it was something.
Right there
Go
on
ahead.
the border. So here's the thing. So like Sean was saying about the Rodney King beating is what they did. They, mollywopped them all over the place. And then that verdict came out and became a big thing. I was like 8 or 9 when that happened. So, I mean, I remember just watching that. And that was really devastating because, I mean, I'm like, this grown man just got beat by these cops, and the way that they did him, all for what? So here's the thing with that. I think part of the thing is that Black people can't really come together with what should we do. It's not a get in line type of thing. It's like, okay, first let's all agree to do this, and then we're gonna do this when this comes up, and then when this comes up, we can't agree on one thing to start off with first. So that's a big thing right there, because then you have your generation, looking at our generation, looking at my generation crazy, my generation's looking at your generation crazy, and I'm for doggone sure looking at my kids' generation crazy. So nobody can come on anything, but at the same time, all of us are dealing with what? The same thing, the white supremacist foundation that this country was obviously built on. I'm of the thought of tear the whole thing down. And how, I don't know, because how would you rebuild? Because you still have to change the people. And it's the mindset, because it's even Black folks' mindsets that you have to change with just even making us feel comfortable in your Leah. Because as it stands right now, I'm like, okay, you can have your Leah. However, is it really going to work? Because it's like, or is it just another problem solver in the micro when we should be thinking about the macro? And that's the thing about it. It's like, is this just taking baby steps? Like, I can get with baby steps, obviously, when you are the quote unquote underdog. That's what you have to do to get to the top. But is this just putting just a baby dent in it? And so it's like, we're still feeling like, the system it was, like Shirley was saying, it is formed under the white supremacist notion. And it has been like that for a long, long time. So it's just one of those things that we don't understand how this is even gonna play out. And then as far as the marching goes and stuff, I mean, my feet are tired. So you know, it's that, like, how long is that gonna go on? Because like I said, it's micro. Like, when we should be thinking about the macro. Like, if we can all get to the bigger picture and on one accord with a solution, then okay. But I mean, how are you going to tear something down when the people? It's just like not to be funny, but the slaves needed the help of white people to even get free.
Well,
So we're still having to look to someone in authoritative figures. Look to someone that's in authority right now to even get our agendas pushed, to even get it sent out. Like, how can you even get past? Because there is no barrier in this country. I would even say in another country that is not blocked by somebody white or by somebody system. I mean, when the KKK and other white supremacists have infiltrated the system like they have in all three branches, honestly, what can you do? I mean, because it's infiltrated everyone.
I think the presumption that that this has to be an all Black effort is flawed. You know, the Underground Railroad was built by white people. Harriet made it, you know, famous. I think that there are many people, and this is something that I've been doing and actually involved in, is exploring the confrontations and the assaults that are occurring on white people by police officers. Because if a system is really broken, then it's going to affect everyone. And while it affects African Americans and Hispanics policing in a disproportionate way, I mean, there are white people who are being assaulted, killed, shot. Like I said, there's a young man named Isaiah who was killed in a way very similar to Breonna was. Okay, so and also in a corporate capacity, I've developed some diversity training, and I never believed in the touchy feel-good stuff. I like results. So you don't make people like you, okay? You don't make a racist like you. If that's your goal, then you can forget that. What you want to do is you want to manage people's behavior. You manage people's behavior through consequences. And so what's happening now is there are no consequences for rogue policing. I mean, there's no accountability, which is why I'll be honest with you, I understand qualified immunity and how it came about and all of that. And in fact, I had to get involved with sovereign immunity and looking at, you know, how all this stuff varies from state to state, scope of employment. It's very complicated. I say again, if you start making these people go to jail, if the state has a death penalty, which I don't believe in, but you make them susceptible to every law that's in that land when they act in a rogue fashion. I absolutely am confident that we can change police. I don't believe anything is impossible. You know, nothing is impossible to accomplish if we set out to do it. Now, with respect to power, you know, I talk about this in my book, critical mass. If you get enough people behind something, we've seen this. People who refuse to believe Black Lives Matter are now posting Black Lives Matter signs in their front yard. You can change the tide, but we have to have a strategy to do that. And so there's a reason that we haven't been able to get the attention, I think, brought to your Leah. And I'll tell you why I think that is. Number one, it was formulated by African Americans. When we sat in Bernie Sanders' office, they looked at us like we were crazy. How dare you come here with a solution to a problem that's of this significance to your community. People are used to formulating solutions for us, which is exactly why I have gone after the Democrats when they presented the Justice in Policing Act, known as the George Floyd Act, because once again, they're giving us less than we deserve, and it will stop no killings of Black people. It is nothing but a facade. So if we want this stuff fixed, we need to do the study, we need to do the due diligence, we need to work together, and guess what? We don't need everybody. We just need an effective critical mass. We need people out.
JC, hold on. After Gerald, JC, because I know she had a thought to finish. Go ahead and finish up your sentence, Gerald. Now I'll have JC after you.
Well, we need to, you know, abandon this belief that we can't get done what we want. You know, I have this seminar called How African Americans Can Get What We Want. We need to decide to get what we want. JC.
Okay. Okay, so my thing is I don't know. I just really don't have that much faith in, one, the American people, and two, the government. Like, I really don't have that much faith in something like that. I just don't, like, I don't know how to say it other than that. It's like, I'm totally understanding with you, what you're saying, you know, we definitely have to get what it is that we want, and we have to go about it a different way. But also, so how you're explaining your Leah to me, it sounds like it's easy, because you said you all went to Bernie Sanders' office and explained, like, okay, well, here's a solution. Here you go. Here's the plan. And so my thing is, if it's that easy, then why hasn't anyone why hasn't the stuff been done? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, what exactly is holding it up? And then, like, you come to another roadblock, and then another roadblock, and then to the end of it, it's like, well, guys, you know, we just can't do it. Like, it's just one of those things. It's like, because all of these things, they do seem really easy to me. It's like, reprimand the people that are doing wrong. It's a very simple solution. It's just that people just really don't want to do it. That's all it comes down to. It's that they don't want to do it. Also, as far as police training, yeah, I don't believe that's the thing. I think there's just raggedy people with guns, you know, and they're running around, black and white. I mean, you know, that's just really what it is. That's what it boils down to. Like, training is not, it's not the thing. It's the application of your training.
Exactly.
That's just like anything in life. Like, if you're not applying what it is that you learn and you find out in life, then it's worth nothing. You have just become a sponge for any and every piece of information that is out here. You've become Google now, but you have not used it in your life at all. And they're not using whatever training that they do have, they're not using that in a positive way. And I mean, when you, like you said, I think Paula said, you know, it's not really just a black and white kind of situation. And you were saying, Gerald, how, I mean, you got to kind of get everybody in on it. But I'm just like, I don't know. I was just talking to my best friend earlier today. I was like, I almost kind of feel like I have the mindset of my great grandmother in some ways. Like, you know, there's some, you know, in the idea that there's some, you know, how they feel like, you know, you can't trust those white folks, you give them an inch and they'll take a mile type of thing. It's like, you know, you can't trust all of them because they'll sit up here and act like, you know, they can be trusted and everything. And then, you know, turn around and it'll be something different, or step on your toes with something. It's like, wait, you just took that completely over. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So it's just like one of those things is like, I'm like, oh God, I feel old. Not even like my grandmother, just my great grandmother type of situation. And it's just like, I'm like, should I feel this way? Like, is this okay? Is this not? I'm like, I'm too young to be thinking like this. Like, listen, I mean, yes, we do need, obviously we need their help because they are in the positions of power. That's just what it is. But it's like, Are they going to
I'm
take it over?
I'm thinking about why-
May I respond to JC, if I could? JC,
Mhm.
you're adorable, number one, and I certainly embrace your sentiments. But let me say this: I never said your Leah would be easy, because what the point I was making is that when we begin to solve problems of this magnitude for ourselves, that is very scary to America. They're used to hand feeding us solutions that don't work for us. So the reason your Leah, I think, is so difficult to advance is because we did write it. It is the solution. It would fix policing, okay? So I expect a fight, and it's built into your Leah that we follow it all the way through the legislative process and when it's promulgated into law, because I know that if we aren't there, when we look up, it's going to, the U will be left out. It'll just be Leah by the time they okay? So number one, we're doing that. Number two, remember this. The goal is to make you feel like you're confronting something that can't be changed. Just think about how dire it looked to people in the civil rights movement who had to sit at the back of the bus, or slaves who thought they would never be freed. The future is yours to define. That's the last phrase in my book. The future is yours to define. So just determine to define it.
Paula?
Hey,
Well,
Charlotte, can I go ahead.
Oh, Paula?
Oh, listen, there's 535 members of Congress, okay? You got the House, you got the Senate. This is one of the reasons why it gets me upset when we keep hyping and hyping presidential campaigns, okay? It starts on the street, starts at the street level. And this is one of the reasons why we have to train our children to be observant about their own communities. How can you improve your own communities? And this is another reason why I wish people would take some of those money, the money from the multi-million, you know where I'm going with this, Twy, from those multi-million-dollar lawsuits, and send some people to law school, help them pass the bar, and then help them get paid to take up these type of cases. This is one of the reasons why we need to put our political candidates in the midterm elections
locally
and get them in office. It's not all about who's the president. It starts at the ground. It moves up through your county. It moves up through your city, your town, your county, and at the state level. We have to put a demand. You know, you say when we pray, put a demand on the spirit. We have to put a demand in our system and remind people, remind politicians that they are public servants. I don't know if I mention, open this up more, Twy will go off on a tangent about people being in office forever and their grandmama being there. So we're going to close that box because that'll be a whole nother show. New blood. We'd also need some new blood in there.
Larry.
Swallow,
Oh, okay, Shirley, and then Larry.
Swallow.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Swallow, I'm sorry I had to call you. Going back to the lady that I think that's got something to do with Ulia. Bernie Sanders, he was asked about he was asked about reparation, and he came back and said, being smart, I guess, what is reparation? So I just want to put that out there. And two, white people are, as far as I'm concerned, they tell lies. I can speak for the record of, and most people tell lies anyway, but since we're on white supremacists, that's where I'm at. So I can speak for the record of my case, how they lied on me, and it's clear that, you know, they had no justification for telling lies, but they just made up lies because just like probably happened in Breonna's case and everybody else's case has been killed Black people, they want to cover up to try to make it look like what they did was right and what we as victims did was wrong. Because a whole lot of stuff came out of Breonna's telling. Give you one, her ex-boyfriend, who I assume who they were looking for, the prosecutor tried to came at him to try to twist the story to make it like Breonna Taylor was involved in the drug ring with him. Okay, but of course that was a real man. Her ex-boyfriend, he didn't fall for the okie doke. Okay, so they're known, white supremacists is known for telling lies. So my point is that the lady was talking about I forget the name. I'm sorry. My thing is that it sounds good. It sounds good. It probably could be something that's workable, but most people, even myself, as a master electrician, a woman.
Shirley, gotta get Larry in.
Okay, you can give me a master electrician. I mean, I have things that I have accomplished in life, and I have been involved in a lot of things, working with blacks, so we can move forward and getting things done. So I'm not disagreeing with you, but the mountain that you want to take us to, or trying to get people to go on, is going to take a little bit more work. Larry. Okay, I'm just going to throw that out there. Thank you very much.
May I ask, when you say a little more work, can you explain that?
Well, I don't know too much about you, Lear. I never even heard of you. Is this an organization? I never even heard of you. See, that's the problem. Let me just say this since you asked me that. The problem is there's so many different organizations or people doing this, and people talking about black people particularly. And I don't believe in that Black Lives Matter. That's been hijacked. But it's so many organizations out here.
Proposed legislation.
Okay, well, I know. Good point, because you have to start at the top, because that's where it starts from, with the laws being made. Okay, and there's no law and order. But my point is that going back to your question, there's so many different organizations out here that's doing this and doing that all over the world, and nothing really makes sense. Nothing. The dots aren't being connected. Okay, everybody's here, there, and everywhere.
Shirley, hold on. You said the dots. Hold on. You said the dots aren't being connected. Gerald wants to respond to that. Go ahead, Gerald.
All I can do is take responsibility for the work that we do. And I want to say this to you. This is something that I do on a corporate level. I go into corporations that have very complex problems, and I resolve them. And so I thought, when I sat in a meeting with the DOJ in Ferguson, the Department of Justice, after Michael Brown was killed, and they asked us, well, how do we control the public in case we come back with a verdict that Darren Wilson is not going to be convicted? I stood up and asked them in the room, you're expecting us to help you cover up the killing of one of our children? Well, I'm not the one. And so I was barred from the meeting. And as I walked out of that meeting, even though a GOJ person wanted me back in the meeting, it was clear to me that we would never get these problems resolved if we didn't resolve it ourselves. We continue to rely on the people who oppress us to resolve our education problems, our criminal justice problems. We have brains. In fact, we are phenomenal thinkers. And guess what? I decided to put my hands to work to use the skills that I have, that corporations pay me money to take care of their problems. Why don't we take care of some of our community problems? So I would suggest to you that you take time, do your due diligence, and look at your Leah. I invite you to call me if you have questions, but I can tell you this, that I've gotten enough people who have been in policing, who know policing, who have told me, you know what, this is the answer. Your Leah is the answer. And by the way, for everyone who's having a hard time with the word your Leah, the short name is the Equality in Policing Act, not to be confused with the Democrats' Justice in Policing Act.
Larry?
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be brief. With ULIRA, I'm familiar with ULIRA. As a matter of fact, when Gerald first introduced it on the Hill and working with Brother Marcus, I was out helping the flyer. So it's a comprehensive document. It's excellent, actually. So, and when JC says it's that easy, well, actually it is, I think, because Gerald did the work. I always say there's power in numbers. And if we get a lot of people behind ULIRA and push it, we'll make it happen. That's
Well, with that being said, I mean, I will definitely look up some stuff on, well, not look up some stuff, look up Yulia and check it out and let my friends know, and, you know, all that, and all of my younger clients and things like that, because it's definitely something that, I mean, like I said, like there's this old mindset. We're just so tired because it's like we don't see, you know, it's like, okay, it's the same old, same old. So
yeah, it's like Gerald's things. The website says changes on us. It's on us, and nobody's going to help us but us. You know.
yeah, that's
You know?
true.
So
That's
right.
true.
They're
Yeah,
more.
I'm gonna look that up, because it's rather I look it up and actually get into the mix, get into the fold, and help make it happen, and you know, even be like, oh, well, I don't know, but I'm gonna go ahead and jump into the pool, you know, as opposed to being on the sidelines and, you know, not sidelines, but, you know, outside of Yulia and not doing anything at all. So I mean, it makes.
And you know what else, JC? I think too that the system of white racism, I think they're more afraid of our unity than our rage. We got a lot of rage out there, but they don't care. They expect that. You see, if we unify ourselves, then yeah. And I agree with Brother Sean and my girl Shirley with what we have to do. I mean, talking. We finished talking. My whole premise is, you know, boycott. I mean, I think that this country, if you hit them where their money sits and economically, you know, boycott. Just stop buying their stuff Christmas, Thanksgiving, and all, spending all your money on these people. You know.
I will have to say, because me and my husband, we do shop black a lot.
Yeah.
And so I will say, it's so hard. Like, it is so hard, because it's not like, so the Montgomery bus boycott, that was a little, I mean, although it was long, and I'm not discounting their efforts and everything, that was a little easier than it would be to boycott. We're talking the world. Like, it's okay, just like this whole Amazon boycott that is kind of, it's kind of gaining some steam a little bit. It's like, guys, Amazon is in everything. It's like boycotting Walmart. Walmart is in it's like all of these things that we are trying to boycott, their hands are in so many things.
Right.
It's like, are there enough black companies and businesses to actually fulfill? Because I don't have a problem paying double if I'm supporting black business that's doing me right and doing my people right. I have zero problem with that. But is there going to be enough to
That's okay. We can start off at one company with Kmart, or what? I mean, not Kmart, but Target. You see, and just like that old African proverb, "How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time." They're huge.
Well, I mean, do you know about Freedom Paper Company? One of the few in the entire country, in the world, black paper products company. Everything from paper towels to toilet paper to trash bags to cleaning products to all that. And that was started, Brother Muhammad, that was started out of the Million Man March.
I support them too.
Yes.
I don't know about all
the most Muhammad, Brother Most Muhammad.
There's like so many companies that we have dealing with different things, you know, just everyday items that we need. It's the thing of, are there enough, and are they able to supply? Because that's what, so even like with COVID right now, the problem with getting, okay, so I'm a hairstylist, and so I get products so that my people can, I can retail it so that they can use it at home to replicate the results that I give them in the salon. But my thing is my shipments have been coming in late and slow because they are running out of bottles. They are running out of raw materials to actually make the actual product. So that's the thing. It's okay. So the companies are there, but are they even going to have the materials to even support what it's going to actually take for a real boycott? Because even if you say boycott Target, do you understand? Target is a culture. Target is its own ecosystem. It's like coffee. It's like Starbucks. It is a culture to have your Starbucks cups and all this other stuff. It's a culture to go to Target and blah, blah, blah. And I mean, I love Target, but Target has their, everybody for the most part loves Target. It's a whole culture. So it's like, they're always able to get their stuff in, but are our companies going to be able to get their raw materials and things in and stuff? You know what I mean? It's
I
like,
think a part of that is they got us in a bind to China. They got us in a bind to a foreign country where even your bottles and all that kind of stuff, you have to get it from. That's an issue. That's why I say everybody needs to be political.
Target wouldn't be Target without our patronage. So if it wouldn't be a Target if we stopped going to Target.
No, that's not it. I don't think that's an issue. I think that's
hold on. Let them finish. Go ahead, Sean.
We need to figure out different means in order to get the raw material that we need. JC, you yourself saw a need, and you provided. You went out there and provided something that will fill that need, even to the point that you even create your own product, which cut out the middleman. You know what I mean? So you yourself, and this is what the things that we need to start doing, you know, as a whole. Okay, we can't get our plastic bottles or whatever from Target, so we'll go somewhere else. Or we might encourage a Black company to build plastic bottles or something of that nature. You know, we need to start doing it ourselves. You know, and quit depending on, because say for instance, give you an example, FUBU. When FUBU was started, that's a little bit before your time, a thriving Black clothing company. And all, that's when hip hop was first starting to come along, and pretty much every Black person in the Black community had some kind of FUBU stuff on. And you know what FUBU, what the white folks did? FUBU offered the Black cat X amount of dollars to buy out the company and defunct it.
Yeah. This is why you need financial literacy and entrepreneurship training from kindergarten onward. Yeah. Financial literacy and entrepreneurship training for children, because all of this, it is an indoctrination. And having that entrepreneurial mindset is very important. Legislation, again, needed.
You know something, Paula?
And schools, creating our own schools.
Now is the perfect opportunity to do these type things. Since we are enclosed, and we have to be enclosed, take advantage of it.
Let me get here with everyone. First of all, I want to thank everyone that came on tonight. Oh my gosh, this has been such a rich conversation. We hope that the viewers do enjoy it too. We want you all to check out T-Limbs Presents The Bridge on Connect to the Bridge on YouTube. We want you to like the video, subscribe, and share. We want to keep this conversation going, but not only just a conversation, we want solutions. So the next conversation needs to be, where do we go from here? What is it from this day on, from today on? And I'm going to give everybody 1 minute to chime in. Sean, go.
I'll go last.
No, go now.
Go now. Okay, where do we go from here? Right now, it's a stepping ground. Each of us know people. And so through that knowledge, we need to network our knowledge. You know, so it doesn't matter who comes across the finish line first, as long as we all get across. So again, we need to start networking the knowledge that you have, Paula, you, JC, Shirley, Gerald, Larry, Twice, all the information that we know. You know something?
20 seconds.
If it can't fit into if the circle can't fit into the square, then it's not meant to be there. So people will eliminate themselves. So again, as far as us coming together, either you're with it or you're not.
Paul.
Well, just on this topic, I would say use your social media platforms hashtag URLEA, URLEIA. And I would say, listen, get to your legislators at the state, the local level, town, community, and congressional. You can email them. You can flood their phones, you can email them, but at least let's unite on that. Also, let's work with our children, please. Let's work with our young people to make them aware of what's happening right now in society. And so they will be critical thinkers. And
JC.
while we're in this time of virtual learning, please use all the resources that are possible to help our children have that kind of mindset, an entrepreneurial mindset. Financial literacy, financial literacy, financial literacy.
Thank you. JC.
I'm with Paula. Definitely we need some intergenerational teaching going both ways. So the youngers can bring the elders together and get that understanding, and the elders can teach the youngers, you know, kind of thing. So definitely that. Like she was saying, financial literacy is definitely going to be the way. And I mean, that crosses all borders of intersection, racial, everything. It crosses everything. You have to have that financial literacy to actually be able to build the companies to help change legislation, because company funds, you know, they do help change legislation.
Thank you. Shirley. Shirley?
Oh, sorry. White supremacists have to be dismantled. As Martin Luther King, when he, I think, was on his way to the March on Washington for economics, he said, I'm coming for my check. And they killed him. The other thing is, as far as contacting or going to get involved, we have blackrightsmatter.org. That's blackrightsmatter.org. If you want to talk to Shirley or Mr. Malik, he's the attorney. He can be reached at 301-513-5445. If you want to speak to me, you can also contact me as well, 703-774-2466. White supremacy has to be dismantled.
JC, give your contact information real quick, and then Paul, and then we're going to come to Larry.
So you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Freshly Rooted Salon. My website is freshlyrootedsalon.com.
Thank you.
I'm on social media at Paula's Universe, PAULAS-UNIVERSE. I'm on Twitter and I'm on Instagram. My nonprofit is Horizons Youth Program. Catch me at Paula's Universe. See you there.
Larry, your last words and how to reach you or find you.
Just one quick update. I understand there was 2 police officers shot in Louisville. I was looking at yeah. The only thing I would say what we need to go further with, and that is communications and the unity of our people. Nobody's going to help us but us. And we have to, if we really want to do it, we have to hit these people economically. You have to do it if you want to come together. And if you join an organization, if you can join iloveblackpeople.com or blackisblack.com and IamOneOfTheMillion.com. So economically is our way, and I agree wholeheartedly with Shirley, or she just said as well.
Gerald.
Well, I think that it's very important that we define priorities. I think we sometimes are tackling so much that we don't achieve any significant gain. So for me, addressing policing is number one. When your kids can just be killed in the streets and nothing is done about it, it is a flagrant display of your powerlessness. So we absolutely need to, I think, put all hands on deck on resolving our policing problems. And I do believe YERROLD is the answer, not because I drafted it, but because I believe it is a solid solution. So in that, and with respect to that, so people are independent thinkers and are making decisions themselves, I think you need to understand what you want. I think if you ask most people what you want with respect to policing, major policing changes, most people couldn't tell you what they want really or why they want it. So rather than just telling you what we've designed for you, recently we added to our website what you should look for in policing legislation, so that when people bring you something like the Democrats' Justice and Policing Act, you can use your own brain to evaluate whether or not it's going to do the job for you. So I encourage everyone to go to our website, which is changeisonus.org. You're certainly free to visit my website, which is JERROLD Sanders, JERROLL Sanders.com. And I invite you to check out my podcast, which is called The Unwrinkled Podcast, Bringing Clarity Where There Is None. And you can find that right now on Stitcher. And that's race neutral, which would be just kind of an interesting discussion as to, you know, how we look at this whole racial issue in America.
Thank you so much. This has been really rich. I've benefited from it, and I hope that our viewers do too. Don't forget to catch us on Sunday. We'll be picking up part 2 with Vote or Die, Vote or Cry. And for now, we send our condolences out to Ms. Tamika Palmer and the rest of the Taylor family, and to Kenneth Walker and his family, and to the citizens in Louisville, because they have a lot of healing that has to go on. And right now, they're not in that place yet for a lot of reasons. Until next time, we thank you so much, and we'll see you Sunday. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Peace.